Hey, it's Rob. Welcome back to Axel's Garage. All right, I don't have the mic on, so we might get a little wind interference. I think it's time for a new camera because the wind and the auto. I turned the auto compensating thing off because when the wind would hit and it would try to auto compensate, it would almost take the sound completely away, and you could barely hear me. I don't know what's going on with it. I just think it's been probably dropped too many times, and probably time for a new camera. Anyway. We're back with another video with the baby mama's IROC here. It's a 1988 IROC. It's in decent shape. It's a nice driver, daily driver car, and she's been driving it every day. And the last video, and I'll put a link to it up here, we replaced the temp sender, which sends the temperature reading to the gauge in the car, which was reading low, and we replaced the temperature sensor. The temp sensor senses the temperature of the engine, and it sends that to the computer. So what the issue was with this particular car was it's using an excessive amount of gas. She's getting about 8.5 miles to the gallon. She's not hot rodding it, but just it's around town driving, so there's no highway driving. She should be getting probably over 10, I would say. Probably a little bit more than that, but let's just say over 10. So we know she's going through an excessive amount of fuel. Another symptom that she has is the idle is a little erratic. It'll high idle after it's already warmed up. It'll high idle when she takes her foot off the gas and goes to stop at a stoplight or a stop sign. Sometimes the high idle will still be on. So we're not sure if that's temperature controlled also. So I'm thinking, now when we replace, if you remember in the last video, or if you just watched the last video that I posted a few seconds ago, when we replaced the sensor for the gauge pinned up at max and didn't come back down. Well, like a day of driving, the needle just must have got stuck. Because after about a day of driving, that came back down and it started to read. And we would start out cold, and when it would warm up, it would only go to maybe 140, 150 degrees tops. And we don't know if that gauge is accurate. We don't really know any history really about this car since we bought it. So it's got decent heat, so I didn't think the engine was running cool, but we have no way of knowing for sure. So we figured let's pop out the thermostat, make sure that there's a thermostat in there to begin with, and put in a new thermostat. So I got a new 195 degree thermostat, which is what it's supposed to be in this vehicle, 195 degrees, and a gasket. Problem being, I sent the big dummy to the auto parts store. Usually this stuff I would buy ahead of time online and get a better price on it. So I said, well, how much could a thermostat and gasket be? I figured $5-6 for a thermostat and a gasket like $2. Well, he came back from the auto parts store with a $9 thermostat, and this is Advance Auto, and they gave him this gasket. I've never seen such a massive, high quality looking thermostat gasket. Usually just a thin paper gasket, and they work fine. This one was more than thermostat. It was like 12 and change, so $23. It should have been 15 tops. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I remember like the thermostat and the gasket. It was under $10. I don't know. So anyway, we're going to change the thermostat and gasket to make sure we got a 195 degree thermostat in there to make sure this car is warming up to where it should be, and we're going to see if that plays any difference. We're just troubleshooting. We're kind of throwing parts at it, but these are all things. It's an unknown history vehicle, and you know me with these older cars and the unknown history. I like to replace the things that normally go bad anyway and do some maintenance. So in my book, thermostat and gasket is part of that maintenance regimen, as well as eventually we're going to change all the hoses, the belt, plug wires, distributor cap, things like that. But for now, we're going to go with this one, and we're going to drive it for another week, and we're going to check our mileage and how much fuel we used and see if that makes any difference. Also, she'll let me know if that makes any difference in the idle. So just like before, the thermostat is underneath that big where the mass airflow and the air box is. So we're going to take all that out, and I'll do that like in the other video, and then I'll be back. Thermostat is going to be under there. Of course, it's always going to be in a shitty spot. Looks like in order to get the thermostat, we're going to have to take this hose off here to get at the other bolt, and then we got this stud right over there. So we're going to make a little bit of a mess. That's par for the course. we got that off. We lost a couple ounces of coolant, and now we can sort of get at that bolt. Get at that one. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so that one broke free nice and easy. And the nut's not turning, that whole stud is turning, which is fine. Alright, so that broke free easy. This one here doesn't seem to want to go too easy. And it's not real easy to get at with everything that's in the way. I'm gonna go from that way. This is just a silly design. Something here. Okay, so I don't know if I'm going to get that like that. So let's take the upper hose off. I'm going to take my plug for my mass airflow sensor, and I want to move it out of the way because I do not want to get antifreeze in the plug. So I'm just going to stick it up over there, get it out of the way. Let's get this upper hose clamp loose. Pull this upper hose off without making too much of a mess. It's going to make a mess, but I just don't want to make too much of a mess. I only want to make a little mess. Okay. Now if we stick it over here. Okay, hopefully it won't dribble. Alright, so we didn't make too much of a mess. I got a little coolant in my throttle body. That doesn't belong there. Alright, now, can I get a winch on here? I have to turn it. Man, that doesn't want to budge. Okay, it budged. Wrench it stuck together. Yeah, I'm leaking. Leaking antifreeze, that don't fit there. Okay, let me show you what bolt I'm fighting with. Oh, it's the second time I did that. Oh man, it's the second time I did that too. All right, let me show you what I'm dealing with. First of all, if you have one of these cars, you can't put tools over here. Like I have, because you got this hole right behind the hood latch, and if you see I drop my screwdriver in there, everything slides, it hits the hood latch and goes right down. So that's number one. Okay, so the first bolt is a stud. That whole stud is moving with the bolt, with the nut rather. Not a big deal, but it's coming off and you have kind of access to it. Then you got this guy over here. You see that one? I would point to it with my screwdriver, but I can't because my screwdriver is stuck in the cowl, or not the cowl, the front of the radiator split. So you got that one right there, and that one there is just like no way to get in there with the wrench. It's, even though I removed everything I could possibly remove, it's just like you're turning it that much at a time, which is not easy to get it cracked loose, and it's not going to be easy to get it tightened as well. Let me get this out and then we'll continue along. So it was even hard just to get my fingers in there to loosen that other one, but once you get them both loose, you can slide it out, and the bolts and this are going to get a little cleanup treatment. And holy shit, this thing's got the fancy gasket too. And look at that, the fancy gasket is in real good shape. I think I'm going to use the fancy gasket over again, because it's in really good fancy gasket shape. And then my son can return the other fancy gasket to the Advanced Auto Parts fancy gasket store, because this fancy gasket is in like perfect shape, which kind of makes me think that this might not be our problem, because that fancy gasket seems new. Let's see if they got a temperature printed on this. I'm hoping it says like 160, because that would be perfect, because that would 195. So 195 degree thermostat. You know what that means? That this probably was not our problem. Same brand and everything. What are the fucking chances that it's a Moto Rad? It's the same brand, the same fancy gasket. That really sucks. I was hoping this was like a 160. It would be like, boom, that's our problem right there, 160. But no. Nope. I made a mess for nothing, because this isn't going to be it. I know it's not going to be it. Shit. Alright, so I went inside. I cleaned up the housing, the gasket surface, and I put some thread sealer. I put the bolts on the wire wheel and got them clean, and put some Teflon-based thread sealer on them. I don't know if they go through a water jacket. I know some small block Chevys do, you know, like old school small block Chevys. So just to play it safe, I had it go through. I put the thread sealer on it. I just used some, just checking to make sure this is 195 degrees. It is. I have some whatchamacallit, some ARP thread sealer that I had bought a tube of it when I was building an engine, and I got plenty left over. So, all right, so we got the thermostat in. And we're not going to use the fancy gasket in the thing. We're going to use this gasket. It's the same on both sides. Plop this gasket back on top. All right, like that. And then we're going to try to fish this bad boy in here. Alright, so you got to get them started by hand, and to make it easy in this application, you just got to go back and forth and try to spin them down by hand as best you can. Alright, well, got those bolts back in. I'll take this little heater or bypass hose, whatever it is, slide it up and on. It's a real pain in the ass. It's probably a molded hose that's supposed to be there. That isn't. Let's get that. Got that clamp on. That's good. That's good. You know what? While we're here, I keep going back to idle air control. So the thermostat, unless it was bad, unless it was a bad thermostat that was opening way too early, that's not going to be our issue. So we're probably not going to see a change. And then we're going to wait a week or so driving it to see if it actually made a change. Let me see if I can pop connector off for the idle air control valve, which is located right under here, and I have everything apart anyway. Maybe just try cleaning it out. I don't have one to put in there, so let me clean it up good, stick it back in, and let's see what we got. Alright, so with a pair of, in New York, we call these water pump pliers. Some people call them adjustable pliers, some people call them channel locks, but I don't like channel lockers. That's the name brand. Anyway, that's what we use to grab this bad boy. And yeah, it's really corroded up on the top with a lot of carbon deposits. This is probably the original one. Could be. I'm gonna try to gunk it down and clean it up, and maybe spray some cleaner if I can in the hole there too. I mean, this is just a mess. Yeah, maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. All right, so I took the I used a little penetrating oil to get it off, and then I went from penetrating oil to carbon choke cleaner with a soft nylon little toothbrush, an old toothbrush. Got it nice and clean. The gasket fell apart, so I kind of MacGyvered one out of a piece of rubber that I had. Put some anti-seize on the threads, and it's all nice and clean now. We also sprayed some carburetor cleaner in the hole until it was washing out clean. It was very dirty when I first put it in, and now it's washing out clean. So let me get this guy in here, and hey, you never know. You know, this probably should be replaced. It is on my list of things to replace. You know, it's probably original. Now there is some internet controversy about how you are supposed to put these things in. Some claim that there are self-learning ones and non-self-learning ones. To be honest, I don't know what the truth is. So I am going to go through I don't see how the learning process that is recommended could hurt, and it doesn't take a ton of time. So once I get this thing seated nice and in there snug, we'll do that little learning process. I'll show you what it is. It's real easy. All right, that's snug. All right, we'll take our connector, and we are going to plug it in so that it's in, and we're in good. Okay, so now we got our idle air control. Let me get the camera. All right, so we got our idle air control screwed back in. The wire's connected, and now what they say to do is turn the ignition on. Don't start it, just turn the ignition on. All right, so we got the ignition on. Now what they claim you should do is come over here and disconnect it. So we got it disconnected. And now go back in the car and turn the ignition off. Ignition's off. And now we can plug it back in and be done with that for now. And we're in. Okay. So that should be good. And let's put our upper hose back on and see if this thing runs any different. Well, I am pleasantly surprised. We let it warm up, topped off the antifreeze coolant, and it seemed to be idling fine. We started up. You saw when we started it up, it had a little tough time starting, and the reason for that is because I had sprayed all that carb cleaner in the hole where the idle air intake goes. But once it started up, it high idled a little bit, and then it came back. I heard it come back down. I'm like, wow. I don't remember it doing that on its own. Let it warm up real good, ran for about 15 minutes, and then I went for a ride, and what I noticed was my temperature gauge was actually reading normal temperature, right around 190, 195 degrees, right in there. You know, it's really not calibrated well. It goes from 100, then a line, then 220. So if you do the math, I was around 190, 195, which is right where I'm supposed to be. It's never shown that high. We did have decent heat, but I'm very surprised. Usually, I've never had a thermostat, you know, open that early where the engine would be that cool. So it would be too much of a coincidence for all of a sudden a bad gauge just start working right after I change the thermostat. So it seems like it's up to operating temperature now. So now we can see moving forward, Sunday today, we'll fill it up with gas, we'll see what our mileage is, and then we'll run it for the week and see if our miles per gallon changed at all. The idle seemed to be a hell of a lot better after cleaning the idle air control valve. We'll keep an eye on that as well. I'll ask my wife to let me know if she's supposed to get that pushing idle, which takes her foot off the gas and it's like idling high, and she's putting her foot on the brake to stop, and it seems like she's fighting the idle. But it seems to be 100% improvement with the change of the thermostat, which I would have never guessed that, especially because I was taking the 195 out and putting another 195 in. So maybe it was a bad thermostat. Who knows? You never know. That's why, with the temperature, one thing at a time. I know I changed two things. I did the idle air control cleaning and the temperature gauge, but that was for two different problems that could be all having the same mileage cause. Who knows? So anyway, we're going to drive it for a week. We're going to see how it does. I'm just surprised. I really am. I don't know what to say. I think being that it's a nice day today, we're in the middle of the corona. I don't know when this is going to get edited and go live on YouTube, but we're in the middle of the corona outbreak. It is it's Sunday, March 13th, 14th, 15th. Sunday, March 15th. You can't buy toilet paper. Nobody's out. The roads are empty. It's kind of neat driving around now. And all the schools are closed. It's just a shit show. It really is. It's just fucking media hysteria. It's ridiculous. So anyway, we're gonna put some soap on this car because we actually have not washed it since we bought it, because we bought it right before Christmas, and it's been the dead of winter. So we're gonna suds it up and clean it off. So the baby mama actually has to go to work. Her school is open for teachers and staff, so she's got to go to work tomorrow, even though the kids are off and I have to go to work. But that's a different story. So let's wash this off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll keep you updated as we go along on this IROC. Changing some parts, some worn-out parts, and we're gonna have to do shocks, brakes, tune-up, stuff like that. And then we gotta straighten out her radio, which I think we're gonna put new speakers in here, and we're gonna pirate these speakers and put them in Robbie's K5. Haven't really figured that whole thing out, but we're moving in the right direction now that the weather's breaking. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. That thumbs up button definitely does a lot for the channel. If you comment, if you know what those water pump pliers or adjustable pliers, what they're called, where you're from, because a lot of it depends on where you're from in the country, what some of these tools are called that are called different things all over the place. But put a comment, that helps too. And please, if you like what we're doing here at Axel's Garage, car stuff, around the house stuff, some of the rants that we do, just talking about stuff and having a good time, driving old cars every day. Hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. And as always, thanks for watching.